Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another action-packed episode of Nich and Jon Is This Evangelion. And if I sound... Yes. If an episode could ever be summed up by one bodily function, it would be a sigh. It's going to be hard to be enthused about this episode, but gosh damn it, we're gonna try.
We are.
I'm John.
I'm Nick.
And this is our Evangelion rewatch podcast in which we work our way through every flipping episode of Evangelion.
Every minute of Shinji's moaning.
A show we absolutely love.
Question mark.
to sort a good from a bad and generally reassess this seminal,
Undoubtedly seminal.
mecha anime. And I don't think a mecha anime has ever been better represented than this episode. Nick, discuss.
Well, I guess the first thing people go to a Mecha Anime 4 is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is giant robots.
Oh.
And, that's a pretty obvious first check in the box kind of thing, isn't it? Like,
Well, it's not really gonna. It's safe. It's a safe bet.
it is, yeah. And when an episode of a Mecha Anime doesn't have a mecha in it, you start to question things a little bit.
I think it's right. If you've got illusions of grandeur. Delusions. Anyway, if you aspire to be a slightly more
Cerebral,
dare we say, inward-looking anime, mecha anime. It's like, we're not just about robots punching each other, right? We believe in big themes and big ideas.
and that's clearly Evangelion's USP.
If I were the editor, there was no editor. If I was the editor, and I'd be like, great, I support you 100% in this, or rather, producer or whatever.
Mm.
But as a business person, I have to say that could you not have put some kind of fight in, or some kind of action in this episode?
Even if it wasn't a fight, like, I understand that maybe Hideaki Anno wasn't necessarily going at Evangelion as this is going to be a mecha anime.
Yeah.
He looked at Gundam, he looked at, I don't know, Robotech, whatever else was around at the time. He didn't think, I want to make one of those. He didn't think that. I think he maybe liked giant robots a little bit here and there, but really he wanted to tell a different story, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But, like, as you rightly pointed out, there could have been some action. Like, no TV show ever. Like, take any crime drama or something. There's the odd episode which is more about the characters than it is necessarily about, like, working in the precinct or whatever it is. But yet still, there will be that little thread that just goes, oh, by the way, and there'll probably be a little circumstantial crime, or something that maybe it's a flashback episode, but in the background they're solving crimes. Do you know what I mean? Like the theme, the setting is always present.
And by an action scene, I'm going to expand that. It doesn't even have to be two giant things punching each other. I mean,
Certainly
a moment with energy.
Yeah.
I just give us one moment. Because otherwise, we're just kind of wading through. I don't even have a word for it, Nick. Just nothing. Like nothing
like
happens.
A mire of depression, but
chasms of storytelling. Just vast. Empty
and what's so
chasms
crazy is that this was a full 24 minutes, or however long the episodes are.
Yeah.
Of practically nothing.
Yeah.
And it could have so easily been like, okay, so you don't have the budget, or you don't have the inclination, or to do a big action scene, or you want to focus on characters, whatever your reason is, you could have still had, a scene where they were disassembling the Ava, and you saw, I don't know, some workings of it, or they could have had a scene where they were doing some sync ratio tests with Rey, or something, just to keep building that mythology. Why have 24 minutes and a significant chunk of your series do literally nothing for your characters at that, for your plot, for your setting, for your mythology, for your action?
Yeah.
It does nothing, this episode.
Because maybe it's stylistically bold. Maybe, as, the George Lucas in us is saying, like, well, it's different, But at the same time, you can go like, oh, isn't it bold that their fourth episode, when most shows are trying to impress viewers and trying to like keep them hooked, they on their fourth episode they were just like, no, let's throw caution to the wind and just do nothing.
Let's do nothing at all.
That's bold. I admire it, but it doesn't make it a good episode.
No, undeniably so.
No,
and it's like there's a moment, we'll get to it when we start synopsizing what happened, but there's a moment that right at the end that Misato and Shinji share when there's a sort of realization. and they stare at each other across a train platform. And it's like, I understand that moment has to have a beat, because, without words, they have sort of, apparently, and we'll discuss that maybe even there isn't a revelation here, but apparently they've both seen what each other really is and what each other really wants from this. And so they share that moment. But it doesn't need to be 40 seconds long, or however long it is.
I don't think it's earned.
No.
Either.
It isn't.
You can have that big kind of like, oh, finally these characters come together.
Yeah.
But, as we will discuss, it's not like they've learned anything. No one's learned anything.
The thing is that everything that happens between the characters, whether or not you think it's an important character piece or not, could happen in 2 or 3 minutes, spread across an episode where other stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it would have the same amount of impact and the same amount of significance to the characters, which is how good storytelling is done.
Yeah.
You don't dwell unnecessarily for really long, achingly boring periods of time on something which you can do in less time, because storytelling is an exercise in economy.
It's indulgent. It's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like I would rather, as you said, I'd rather have a really good 2-minute scene of introspection. I can't get my words out tonight. I'm so angry, Nick. 2 minutes of soul searching, not 20. Yeah, 2 good minutes. Anyway,
and then, let's get into it.
Should we break it down?
Break
what
it down,
happened in this episode?
So the last episode ends.
Let's recap. Break it down, Nick. What happened at the end of the last episode?
At the end of the last episode... Oh, gosh, I can't remember now.
He just defeated... Well, it was after the lobster angel.
That's right, and he invites Toji Suzuhara and Ida Kensuke into the cockpit. Yeah. They see firsthand how traumatic it is to pilot an Eva. He's screaming and stabbing it, and it freezes. And the episode basically ends with a little tiny epilogue where it's sort of revealed that he hasn't gone to school in a little while. And Toji and Ida are a little bit like, ooh, I wonder if he's okay.
Oh, and the tennis ball in the rain.
And the tennis ball
in
the rain.
Arguably, aren't we all tennis balls in the rain?
We are.
Really, that was the message. And I guess this is kind of like a two-parter, because they made a big point in the last episode about the hedgehog's dilemma.
Yeah.
Which is apparently some parable or saying that the problem with hedgehogs is that the closer they get to each other, the more they hurt each other.
Yeah.
Which is not the case, because hedgehogs have bred and continue to reproduce and are doing all right.
They don't have any spikes on their soft underbellies.
But clearly that struck such a chord that that's the title of this episode. The Hedgehog's Dilemma.
Yeah. It's also got a subtitle, Rain After Running Away.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is incredibly poetic.
Well, actually, I take it all back.
Yeah.
Everything I've said.
Now it all makes sense.
So episode opens and Misato
is
wakes up. Typically slovenly, typically kind of
scruffy hair,
just rolls out of bed, hates mornings,
brushing her teeth,
and she's like, "Oh, Shinji,
are you going to go to school today?" Yeah. And then she knocks on his door. Shinji, you there? Oi,
Shinji,
you bird. You slide it open. Immaculately made bed. Nothing in the room. He's not there.
He's not there. And she goes,
and he hasn't been there for 5 days.
And she goes like, "Oh, he's run away."
Like, yeah, we know.
And she goes,
"Who are you talking to?"
That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
She's like, "I guess that's to be expected."
That's to be expected. Yeah. Okay. So it's taken you 5 days to open his bedroom door.
Yeah. And right off the bat, you and me are like,
pick me.
Right off the bat, echoing the realization we had in the last episode that Nerve and the government may just be the most incompetent people on the planet, because Shinji, this isn't even up for debate. Shinji is the only eligible pilot for Unit 1.
Yeah.
Which is kind of confirmed later in this episode.
He is vital for their... I know, and I'm not beginning to suggest that Nerve's only function, because we know enough about this show, having watched it all before. They're not that interested in saving the world. That's a cover for what they're really up to. But he's still really important for that as well.
Also, they don't want to die.
No one wants to die.
Yeah, it's like Nerve may have an ulterior motive. Let's see what happens. But at the same time, they'd rather not die in the interim because they want to put their plan into action. So they know for a fact that giant monsters are coming from space.
Yeah, many more.
They've built a weapon to fight them, which is effective, but there's only one person on the planet who can pilot it, and nobody cares when he disappears.
For 5 days.
An emotionally damaged 14-year-old boy.
And I think, as you pointed out while we were watching it, her first port of call is not call the police. Not even call Nerve. Call Nerve personnel services or whatever they might have.
She works for the government. She is Major Kusanagi.
Yeah. Kasaragi,
Kasaragi, sorry. She is she's a very, very, very high-ranking military, quasi-government, Secret Service official.
And yet does nothing.
And she just lost the 14-year-old boy who is the only hope of saving the planet. And she just goes like, yeah, I guess that's to be expected.
Yeah.
He ran away. I'm not going to get fired.
It's just mad, isn't it? Because this whole episode is about this. And without skipping ahead, she talks to Ritsuko about it a little bit later on in the episode. And Ritsuko just goes, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know? And she's just like, well, if he doesn't want to pilot it. And it's like, what? Like,
But it's like the head of the human military counteraction, like the resistance against the angels, and like the chief scientist who developed this weapon are both going like, oh yeah, I guess we lost the trigger to the greatest weapon we've ever built. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I don't know, really.
But it's the fact that Ritsuko asks Misato what she's going to do.
Yeah.
Not questioning like, what are you going to do about the most important piece of our most powerful super weapon?
What is Nerve gonna do?
Yeah. But instead she asks her like, what are you going to do about your roommate? You know, is he coming home?
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a social chat.
Like a water cooler.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I know that troubled boy is living with you and he's run off again. So what are you going to do about it? Oh, by the way, we're going to have to save the world at some point this afternoon. These two things are unrelated, apparently, to Ritsuko. Like, the fact that Shinji is the key to saving the world.
They're not like, certainly when the angels appear to be appearing, like, at least every couple of weeks or something.
Yeah.
Like, they know the next one is imminent.
Yeah.
And they're not like, good grief, we've got to find Shinji before the next... Like, we have a schedule. We know he's coming. Like, we know the next angel is going to come and just rain death from above on our pitiful little city, and we will be defenseless. And no... Oh.
That's what's so odd about this whole show, though, actually, and the episodes previous to this have already shown that, is this weird calmness all the time. Now, you could argue that this is an incredible artistic move, maybe, and maybe you'd be right to argue that. I don't quite know myself, but it's really hard to gather a sense of peril or to establish any sort of stakes, because at the very beginning in the first episode we said that it was quite strong the way the angel just comes from behind a mountain. You know, there's explosions in the sky, there's cars skidding through streets, but there's no one around because they've already been evacuated. And the way that Kensuke and Suzuhara talk is like they want to be involved, they want to see more. You know, there isn't really a sense that anyone is under any sort of threat.
And also, of course, as, you know, reasons it will be explained, the angels are primarily or only attacking Tokyo 3. And a lot of people just evacuate. A lot of people just leave.
Just leave. Just go.
I'm not going to come back.
Yeah. It's like, that's pretty wise, actually. I know you can't force evacuate a whole city, probably. Logistically, that's maybe impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, if people don't want to go, you can't force them. So I get that.
But the fact is, they have the option to go.
Yeah, and yet they don't.
And it's like, that also undermines the danger.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why don't you just leave? Oh yeah, I guess I will.
Yeah. And like, most of the time that there's a battle in the streets of the city has already gone underground and been evacuated. So there aren't people screaming from footsteps coming from overhead.
Yeah.
There's literally the city just happens to be the battlefield.
And you find yourself wondering, like, how much of it was maybe just like a budget-saving thing? Because, like, animating streets of people running for their lives would have been... And to be fair, we saw a lot of... You know, we talked a little bit about the animation cutting corners. And
yeah.
But, like, it's probably never more evident than in this episode, where people are always in silhouette, so you don't have to see their mouths moving. A lot of foot shots, like a lot of shots of people's legs.
Really, really static shots of people just staring at each other.
Standing in front of, like, backlit monitors and stuff.
Exactly,
I know it's just what you have to do to save money where you can, but it's just like, it doesn't do them any favours. It doesn't help them.
No. And in fact, we talked about the last episode and how it had a lot of those. Like, episode 3 had a lot of those. And now we enter episode 4. And I think I said in the last podcast, like, maybe the reason is because they were saving some money up for a big battle in the next episode.
Yeah.
Which we now know is not the case. So maybe they have yet to save even more money and had to do a whole episode of cutting corners in order to save money for something awesome coming up. This is me giving it massively the benefit of the doubt.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because, like, I mean, somehow I clearly made it through this the first time I saw it, and
But my patience for this sort of thing was way lower when I was a kid.
Yeah, so how?
Like,
so it's weird. Did we?
How did I not get frustrated?
Because now rewatching it, I know there's better stuff coming.
You know what I think it is, though?
Yeah.
I've just had a thought, and I think it's because it was one of the first animes I ever saw.
Ah.
So regardless of how uninteresting the episode was, I was watching something I'd never seen before. I'd never seen characters that looked like this.
No.
I'd never seen worlds and animations that looked like this. So even if the episode was boring, I was probably still on board.
Yeah.
Whereas now we've seen a lot of anime. Anime is a lot more consumed in this country and all over the world now. And it's less a question of it being a novelty because we haven't seen it before. It's now a question of how good is the storytelling. Seriously, it starts to have to be ranked alongside everything else.
But also, like, if you can imagine, like, if you were among the audience to first watch this when it came on television, like, you'd never seen, like, hey, this new show, Evangelion, I want to check it out.
Let's have a look.
By episode 4, like, you think of, like, a massive success story like Lost.
Yeah.
Lost was still working really hard to keep people interested.
Definitely,
Because, first couple of episodes, wow, this is big, this is exciting.
This is mysterious.
It's episodes 3 and 4 where you have to work the hardest to keep people in.
This is where you grab them.
Yeah.
This is where you grab them by the scruff of their neck and they don't want to be let go of.
Because it's always going to be a peak. People are always going to love your first episode. You might even get them for the second episode, but this is when you have to work hard.
Yeah.
If I didn't know what was coming, I'd be almost like, oh man, I think I'm done. Like,
I know.
This is not.
I mean, I guess again, it maybe of its time, it felt incredibly new. There wasn't as much noise around it either. So when you wanted your giant robot fix, this was the only place you could go. And that's not to say it's rubbish and that people were just making the best of a bad situation, but it was such an original idea back then. Whereas now we've had people play with the mecha genre so much. We've got loads of Evangelions out there. This isn't the only cerebral, intelligent mecha anime that exists.
And maybe it was the fact that they were doing something so different. Like, maybe everyone was like, wow, like, this is all about, depression and kind of like isolation. Like, this is really, I don't know, maybe it struck a chord. I don't know, but it's not. Anyway.
Carrying on.
Sorry, synopsis.
No,
so,
it's fine.
So Shinji's run away.
Yeah.
Everyone's wondering where he is. I mean, I'm not even sure we can go into too much detail. I don't think there's much
point
to say.
I mean, over the first sort of 10 minutes of the episode, we see various people talk to various other people about the fact that Shinji's gone.
Yeah.
And that's it, really.
Yeah.
And we also cut to seeing Shinji on the Tokyo 3 loop train.
Yeah, he just rides the train, like, round and around Tokyo.
Not going anywhere, just round it.
Goes to a late night cinema.
Yeah.
And
there is an
interestingly,
interesting point here.
He's watching a fictionalized, like, action movie account of Second Impact.
Yeah.
Which has really only been very subtly hinted at. Like,
By
there
the
was that
schoolroom
lesson
teacher.
in the class. Yeah, like, so, which was kind of interesting, like a very subtle bit of world building.
It was, and it was nice because in the movie, it's playing up the lie that the populace have been fed, which we find out is a lie later on.
Oh,
that it's an asteroid impact.
Excellent point. Yeah,
and of course it isn't that. But the whole world thinks. I mean, even the very word impact makes the public and the story accompanying it that it's a meteor think that that a meteor hit the world and that's what's caused all these problems. But it isn't.
That's a really good point, actually. A very subtle kind of
so
propaganda.
it's propaganda, I think, and that adds more to nerves. Maybe what's the word? Evil intention, secret agenda, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So Shinji is AWOL. He's just kind of wandering. You see him sleeping on like a bench somewhere.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Misato is, navel gazing, saying like, "Oh, I wonder what we'll do." No one's actually not actively looking for him.
No.
Kensuke and Toji are saying, like, you occasionally see a couple of shots of them, and they're saying like, "Oh, I wonder where he is."
Yeah. And we also get a flashback in this period of the conversation after the last battle in episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
Where basically, obviously, he disobeyed Misato's orders in that battle, which was to retreat. He instead decided to stab the thing in the heart with his vibrating knife, and eventually, obviously, killed it, which is great.
And saved the world.
And saved the world and 2 kids who would have otherwise been minced.
Yeah.
And all she can do is chew him out about breaking an order.
Yeah.
And all he says in that conversation is yes, yes, yes. And she sort of calls him on, like, you can't just keep trying to please people. You can't just keep saying yes. And he's got a sort of weird grin on his face in this conversation. And I think this is one of his most courageous moments in a funny sort of way. He's got this sort of course I'm going to pilot it because I'm not strong enough to say no. But at the same time, you need me. And you chewing me out like this isn't going to make any difference, is it? You can tell me as long as you like that I am a cowardly, spineless child. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what I say because I'm just going to sit in that in that cockpit, and I'm going to pilot that robot. So shut up, basically.
You've made it abundantly clear to me that I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
actually almost sarcastic in that conversation. And when she gets more and more annoyed, he just goes, yep, to everything she says. Yeah. And then eventually just turns around and just goes, well, what's going to happen? I'm always going to pilot it. The end, kind of thing. Like, I quite like that scene.
Yeah, but it's crazy, isn't it? Because, I guess maybe there's a second conversation between the two later.
There is,
and so maybe I should save this for then. But like on a second viewing, I'm sympathising more and more with Shinji.
Hilariously, yes. Yeah. And that is interesting, considering we used to, and still do, take the mick out of him for being something of a wet blanket. But, if you've already got depression / isolation issues, and then you get flung into this situation with a totally incompetent commanding officer and general intelligence agency, I mean, come on, like, give the kid a break. He's the best thing you have. Seriously.
But then, so she basically shouted at him, which probably prompted him running away.
Yeah.
And when we see him kind of like wandering aimlessly, like he's in a major depressive episode, like he's just kind of hanging his head, he's not engaging with anything.
This is another time we see the Walkman and he's flicking between the two tracks on his cassette,
which we never really properly hear what he's listening to.
It's very tinny.
But then he randomly bumps into Kensuke, who is out in
a
field playing like army games.
Yeah.
Like he's got a little tent.
Yeah, he's got like plastic guns and he's just messing around.
Wearing like camo gear.
Yeah. And he's cooking out in the wild as well.
Yeah, and he's just acting out, hey, I'm just playing with guns.
Yeah, Another question mark about that, I just thought.
Yeah.
Is that surely if an angel could come at any time, would there not be some sort of limits on whether the public could just be out in a field, like doing what they want? Anyway.
Gotta be farmers somewhere, you think? Where did they go? Anyway, he sees Shinji. He's like, hey, Shinji, come over here. They sit down. They have like a campfire, some meal, some food. And he goes like, yeah, Toji's really sorry he punched you in the face. He thinks he overreacted. Actually, you saved his sister's life.
Yeah. And his sister thinks that. Like, apparently his sister chews Toji out because she said, no, the robot saved me. And saved everyone in the city, and now Toji feels like a bit stupid for picking on Shinji and blah blah.
And Kensuke's like, "Hey man, I really envy you. Like, I wish I could pilot the Eva." And he's like he's all gung ho, saying like, "Oh man, I'd get behind the controls, I'd kick some angel ass." And Shinji's like, "I know it's an interesting line because he said like, well, wouldn't your mom be worried about you?" And he goes like, "Oh, I don't have a mom."
He said, "I'm like you.
I'm like you." Which is interesting.
Yeah, and Shinji sort of almost brightens a little bit then. I think this is a little bit of good character work, actually. Yeah. Because, Shinji's not the kind of guy who makes friends. But Kensuke is not the kind of guy who gives up. And, has just decided he's going to befriend Shinji regardless.
Well, that was interesting because we know kind of like what's going on in the Marduk Institute.
Yeah.
Which, as we kind of understand, I think they've certainly not mentioned it yet, but... Maybe
they do mention it in this episode.
Yeah. No, they've not really explained it at least.
No, certainly not. No,
but kind of like it is maybe the institute that looks for pilots.
Yeah,
which are all children.
Yeah,
and they're all 14-year-olds.
Yeah,
and this takes place in 2015.
Yeah,
so there's this, maybe no one mentions it, but it could be this idea that only people born or conceived
around the time of Second Impact
can pilot the Evas.
Yeah.
So, and which happened in 2000. So hence that's why all the pilots are young.
Yeah.
Then
he sleeps the night with Kensuke in the tent, just kind of as buds, I suppose. And then they are rudely awakened in the morning by a load of nerve agents showing up. 5 of them in black suits with black sunglasses.
Very like Men in Black.
Very Men in Black.
And what did they say?
They said something like, "Are you Shinji Ikari, the pilot of Unit 1?" That's their opening gambit.
Are you? They're the intelligence agency.
And they've tracked what? Otherwise, therefore, they tracked a random kid to our tent.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this all night. They've just been going to random buildings,
Tent to
random tents. Are you Shinji Ikari? No. Are you Shinji Ikari? No. Eventually, yes. I knew this would work. If we checked all the tents.
First time. First time. And he goes like, under Section 8 of the Global Defense Initiative Law Act, we're taking you back. He goes,
because Shinji probably read that book.
and he goes like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, right, whatever.
And we take him.
Yeah. And so off he gets grabbed. We get a little scene where Kensuke is back in the classroom with Toji, and Toji says something like, "Why didn't you have the balls to stand up to those agents?" And Kensuke is like, "Well, obviously I'm not going to stand up to a load of like intelligence agents."
Yeah,
who are,
I was
like,
holding a plastic
3 times
gun.
my age.
Yeah.
So obviously now we're seeing the fact that Toji and Kensuke care a little bit about Shinji's well-being. And then we cut to Nerve, and we see Misato talking to him. In a very...
Yeah, he's back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a side-on shot. The Nerve logo is very prominent in the centre.
Yeah.
Shinji is sat head in hands, basically, head down.
Yeah, not
on the left-hand side of the shot.
Not making eye contact or engaging with...
And then there's light coming from the right-hand side, but Misato isn't in shot. And then it keeps cutting to a silhouette of her. And she's obviously standing in the doorway, but from the side shot we can't see that. So it has to cut whenever we want to see her. And it's really just the edge of her hair catching a bloom of the light behind her.
Yeah.
So nobody moved. No one's mouths moved because Shinji's head is down.
Yeah.
And Misato is silhouetted.
It's really pushing the limits of what you could call an animation.
I could do it in PowerPoint. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
I could do better in PowerPoint, actually, I would dare say.
You probably could. And it's like a continuation of that earlier conversation between them where she shouted
Kind
at
of,
him.
yeah. They're kind of picking up where they've left off, aren't they?
But she goes like, "Are you feeling better after you ran away for a couple of days?" And he
Yeah.
goes like, "Not really."
Yeah.
And she goes like, "Are you going to pilot the Eva?" And he goes, "Well, who else will do it if I don't?" And she goes like, "Well, we've got Ray, the critically injured girl who we guilt tripped you with a few episodes ago."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Doesn't seem fair to force it all on her. I guess I'll have to do it."
And she's like...
And then she shouts at him again.
And her thrust for her shout is, we can't have someone with that sort of attitude piloting the Ava.
And I think we both hit upon this when we were watching it, just what utter nonsense this was, because they bring him here.
Yeah.
They force him to do something he didn't want to do.
And is incapable of doing.
He's not trained to do.
No.
By guilting him into it, by literally wheeling a bleeding...
A special stretcher that collapses in front of him.
Yeah. They loosened the leg deliberately, just so that she would fall in front of him and get her blood on him.
Yeah.
And they go, and he's like, What? Why is this dangerously wounded girl in front of me? He goes, "Well, you won't do it. I guess we're going to... I guess she's going to pilot it." And he goes, "Fine, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And so he hates it. He doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it.
And he has done it twice.
Yeah, and he's performed admirably.
Yeah, killed 2 angels.
With no training.
A 14-year-old boy has killed 2 angels.
And then after all this, after putting him through the most blatant and manipulative guilt trip you could imagine, she then shouts at him again. She goes like, "No, it's not good enough that you hate it, but you're doing it anyway. You have to like it." This is an abusive relationship. This is terrible.
I mean, it makes sense to force him to do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, for whatever reason, Marduk, Institute or nay, he is the only one who can pilot that. And that is the thing that can save the world.
Yeah.
So fine. But to expect him to like it while he's doing it...
That's just twisted.
And to attack him on the basis that... I mean, maybe the show is genius. Maybe the whole point of the show is to make us have this angry discussion. Maybe Nerve are that despicable. But the weird thing about that is, and Nerve are that despicable, to be totally honest, they don't value human life, even though they need it, which is a weird counter thing, but whatever. Misato is not meant to be Nerve.
No.
She's meant to be a human being.
Yeah.
If anything, she is just about the only relatable human being we have, because we can't relate to Shinji, let's be honest.
But
so why does she embody Nerve's most disgusting principles so wholeheartedly?
She just comes across like an idiot.
Yeah,
frankly. And it's her who's probably annoying me the most now.
Yeah.
Like watching it again, because her actions are so wildly inconsistent.
Yeah. She seems to care about him, but then when he comes back, she just attacks him for seemingly stupid reasons.
Incompetent.
Yeah.
She pretends to... she claims to care about him, yet is utterly incapable or unwilling.
And I can imagine someone telling me, well, she is a very young major. She's 18 or whatever, or 21 or something that she's meant to be. Doesn't matter. Why is she promoted to major then if she's
Nonsense.
a completely weird, unintelligent, completely
You
ridiculous
don't
human being?
get put in sole command of military action against invading aliens if you are not a tiny bit competent.
Incompetent is the word. She is a loose cannon. She is a dangerous person. Danger, danger, danger. And above all things, no matter what Nerve's weird secret agenda might be, and disregard for human life and general despicableness, that all is very, very true. They need Shinji for all of it.
Yeah.
They need it to stop people from dying before they can complete their plan, and then he is actually part of their plan. So don't give me this, Nerve are the bad guys, so that's why he's getting treated like crap. No, because it doesn't make sense. Like, he is going to pilot the Ava. He's already said he will. Why does he have to like it? That's not part of their plan. And even that, Misato doesn't know their plan, so why?
No, and I think, you can see from, the story they're trying to tell here is that, Shinji, you need to snap out of it and start feeling things. You need to connect as a human. It's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But let's just look at the big picture here.
Yeah.
And you were quite right when you said, yes, they should be forcing him to do this. And we'd have to be like, Shinji, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we're sacrificing your happiness to save the planet, but this is the impossible decision we have to make.
That's what Misato should be saying.
Yeah.
Because she's meant to be the human face of Nerve. Nerve is this big, faceless, disgusting corporation, but Misato is the heart, you could argue. She should be the one who's going, I don't know why Nerve says it has to be you. I don't know why it has to be 14-year-old kids, and I don't know why you hate it so much. And I'm sorry about all of that. And the story could still be about a young boy who is traumatically forced to do something he doesn't want to do. And that thing is what all kids of that age would have loved to do, and that's pilot a giant robot. It's a great idea to turn that on its head. Instead of it being a fantasy, it's a traumatic experience. That's good story. But for them to then treat him the way they do, it doesn't make sense.
No.
As characters and narrative, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't work, I don't think.
Well, how cool would it have been if, she said all that?
Yeah.
And being like, but Shinji, I will be your friend.
Yeah. I'll be your rock to
We'll
help
do
you
it
through this.
together, and together we can work out what's so weird about Nerve and why.
And this would be a human story then.
Yeah.
I mean, I've compared it to Gurren Lagann in the past, but Gurren Lagann is less wishy-washy interpretable. It's just testosterone-fueled mecha anime, and so it's not trying to do as much maybe as Evangelion. But the story that Shimon has in Gurren Lagann is one of being weak and downtrodden and spineless and cowardly, and his friend Kamina pulls him up and rises him up and says, you need to be strong. And that whole story is about, you got to get stronger. And although, the most important thing here is you need to pilot the Lagan, but in the process of that, maybe you can learn some lessons from that and apply them to the real world and become a better person. And he does. And he goes on a whole arc and he becomes a stronger person thanks to the support of his friend and his big brother, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's a great arc. But what is happening here? This is ridiculous in Evangelion.
Now, and this is the thing, I'm sure some people might say, well, actually, Evangelion is about depression.
Yeah,
which it is.
Yeah.
Which we can all agree.
I'll take that.
And it is about Shinji being incredibly depressed.
No doubt.
Yeah, and kind of trying to break through that. And the fact that the world is ending is just kind of like the backdrop or greater metaphor for his depression.
Yeah.
Fine.
Brilliant.
We get it. It is a very cerebral show.
I get that.
However, the voice of Misato, be it the author's voice or just anyway, is basically just saying, snap out of it.
Yeah.
Just saying, get over it. Which is actually massively insensitive to anyone with depression.
Shinji's depression is not an excuse for every other character in the story who doesn't have depression to act like completely unpredictable robot retards. It doesn't make any sense.
They're acting like a lot of them are acting like aliens.
Yeah,
because of their behavior. Shinji is, yes, he is massively depressed, but at least his actions are predictable
and fairly consistent.
And consistent, because he is depressed and he's acting like a depressed kid.
Yeah,
and he's not the hero they would like. He's the hero they're stuck with. But everyone else is acting like a lunatic.
It's funny,
him.
We went into this thinking that the character we were going to dislike and be annoyed at and take the mick out of was Shinji. Because I think when we were younger, he was the hero. He wasn't the hero we wanted him to be. He's the kid piloting a giant robot. We're the kids watching this show about piloting giant robots, and he's nothing like us, and that's really frustrating. But But instead, it's completely the other way around. Like, as we've said, Shinji is the most consistent, the one who is most accurately portrayed as someone who has depression and therefore has a character to him, a facet to him. And okay, so he's not going to go on the arc where he develops and strengthens and grows and becomes a courageous warrior. That's not what this story's about, and that's fine. I didn't mean to compare it to Gurren Lagann and say that that's what should happen. All I was saying was that there was a path here, and the other characters supported our protagonist on that path.
Yeah.
Like, Shinji has a path, and maybe he'll never break out of his depression. Maybe you can't by just being forced to pilot a giant robot. That's probably true. But no one cares, and no one's helping, and no one's trying to do anything that is in any way consistent to help out the person who they need the most.
Yeah.
Someone who is not only broken and has a genuinely diagnosable medical condition, but on top of that, they need him to do various things. It doesn't make any sense.
No, and that's the crazy thing. It's like, I don't know. I feel like the way this episode is presented and the way like Misato is talking, it's like we're meant to be going as the viewer, going like, "Oh yeah, he should want this. He should want this." But as I think we've said, it's like all we can see is like, no, like he's acting perfectly logically.
He's the one who's saying that despite everything about how he feels, he will still pilot it.
Because I mean, what happens at the end? I mean, like we see, so Shinji goes, "I'm not going to do it."
Well, the key thing is that episode ends with Misato going, if you're going to be like that, maybe you should just quit.
Yeah.
And then it cuts, and he has.
Yeah,
and we see like, his ID being voided.
Yeah, and he says like, "Can I say goodbye to Misato?" And you hear a voice go, "Well, no, you can't.
You're not nerve personnel anymore.
You're not nerve personnel." You see his dad.
Yeah.
Whose name is
Gendo.
Gendo going. So he's left then. Yep.
Talking to Ritsuko.
Fine.
Ritsuko says something to the effect of the Marduk Institute has not yet found the fourth child.
Yep.
So what are we going to do? And Gendo goes, "Oh, we'll just prep Ray for Unit 1." And then Ritsuko goes, even with all the experiments of Unit 0 failing.
Yeah, they've gone really badly apparently.
And Gendo just goes, "Yeah, let's hope they're better in Unit 1."
So
that's your plan.
So, and as you said, so they have no... They can't even get Ray to reliably pilot Unit 1.
No.
And they're just fine with Shinji leaving.
And this is another really weird thing, is that after having a go at him for leaving, which you'd think would mean they're trying to discipline him to stay, they actually give him the opportunity to turn and leave.
Yeah.
And he takes it because, well, why wouldn't you? And as an adult telling you that you don't have to do this. Fine then, I don't like it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. I'll go then. Because you'd assume that the adults would know that they'd have another plan. Yeah. They'd have a plan. He doesn't know about the Marduk Institute. He doesn't know that he's the third child. He doesn't know any of that stuff. So when an adult says to you, as a 14-year-old boy, you don't have to do that thing you really, really hate every day anymore, because, you'd assume they have a plan B. And so you walk out without any guilt.
Yeah.
Except he does, of course, have guilt, but that's because he's Shinji, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And so rather than, again, forcing the one person they need to reliably pilot the most powerful weapon they have to do what they need to do, they just let him leave because he doesn't have the right attitude.
It comes across as a form of sadism.
Yeah,
like or genuinely like an abusive relationship. Like they're playing these mind games with him, and I don't know what they want anymore. I don't know how Shinji is supposed to.
And that would be fine if it was one other character who was playing these mind games, who was a sadist, who was like this, I don't know, like Gendo, like his dad is obviously a disgusting, despicable human being. So, it'd be fine if this was a relationship between Shinji and one person who was horrible. But it isn't. No. This is a relationship between Shinji and countless hundreds of people that form a corporation that stands for something, and yet every single member of it acts like a complete mindless alien.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
I mean, look, just for the purpose of completion, to wrap up the synopsis, Shinji is escorted by men in black.
Quite roughly.
To the station. He has an emotional goodbye with Kensuke and Toji.
Yep.
And Toji's like, "Hey man, we figured you'd be leaving. I'm sorry I punched you in the face. Please punch me in the face.
Yeah.
I'll feel better about it." So after a bit of egging on, Shinji does it. Then he's dragged bodily away by the Secret Service.
Yep.
You go like, "No, time's over." Rip him upstairs. Then Shinji goes like, "No, guys, I'm the one who should be punished.
Yeah,
like,
I'm weak. I'm cowardly.
I'm running away." And they go, and they say something like, "We don't mind that you're running away. You went through hell.
We understand.
We're all going to have to evacuate the city soon, by the way, because the angels will come and kill us all. But that's cool. We don't blame you.
Yeah,
Off
carry
you
on.
go.
Yeah.
And then the Secret Service, who are so intent on dragging him away, bring him to the train station, but don't wait to see if he gets on the train.
No, they're gone. He's on the platform on his own and waits for the train to arrive. The train arrives, the doors open, and he stood there staring at the doors.
I guess you're meant to assume that he gets on
and goes.
because the train.
Starts
we see
to pull
a
away.
train pull away.
We see Toji and Kensuke again, sort of waiting outside the train station, and then suddenly, as if this is some sort of dramatic moment, Misato's sports car pulls up at a rate of knots, skids to a halt, and she jumps out of the car, and you realise, I meant to realise, maybe she cares, maybe she really does care, and she didn't get a chance to say goodbye, and she was hoping to catch him before he left, maybe.
Yeah. And then a train pulls away, and Shinji is still standing on the platform. And then
We get the
Misato
lingering
turns
shot.
around, and she looks at him,
And he looks at her.
and nothing happens. And this still shot, the tannoy kind of talks about the next train leaving.
I think there are 4 lines of Tannoy dialogue.
Yeah.
Monologue, maybe I should say.
So like, please don't leave baggage unattended.
The next train to the something or other prefecture will be arriving in 2 minutes. Make sure you step on the right side of the yellow lines.
Always have your tickets available.
Don't leave anything in a bin that might explode. And then, there's another few of those.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. That
Yeah.
is not the only one of those. All the while, there's the cicadas going in the background, and Shinji and Misato are just staring at each other across the train platform. And this is meant to be, I think, played for emotion.
I think this is meant to be an arc.
They've both come to a point, and Shinji looks very happy to see Misato. Misato looks very happy to see Shinji.
Can you tell? I can't honestly remember.
Well, I know that Shinji smiles,
Oh, does he?
which is I know the only reason I remember that is because it's rare. Misato, I don't know whether we get any expression on Misato.
I think you just see the back of her head, don't you?
He does say something, though, doesn't he? Right at the end of that scene, Shinji then says something like, "I'm home."
Does he?
Yeah. It's a really weird line because he says something like, "I know where I am. I'm home."
Did your like hindbrain like invent that just to like?
I swear to you, it's there.
As a survival mechanism, just to like.
Just to hope for
This is
some story.
so boring. Quick.
No, seriously. If you watch
Really?
it back,
Oh, okay,
that's
right.
there. That's definitely there.
Well, clearly mine did the inverse, and it just kind of cut it out to like.
We don't need this.
And then it ends,
And then the episode ends.
and
I think we see the Ava once parked in the bay.
you see the top of its head,
That's right, yeah.
don't you? They walk past it. So Nick, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel like it's all pointless, John, and we should give up. And maybe that's what it's meant to make us feel like, because that's how Shinji feels. And after having to deal with all of these idiots, I don't want to deal with them either. I want to run away, John. I want to run away so far. This would not make me keep watching.
It made me feel anger at Misato.
Yes.
Like more than anyone. Secondarily, it made me feel anger at Nerve as a government organisation.
Yeah.
Um,
And I can imagine that the people who are, I don't know if these people exist, but if there are diehard fans who would take issue with what we're saying, I can imagine counter arguments from them, which is that, yeah, you're meant to feel like that because that's how Shinji feels. But that doesn't work for me.
No.
Because there's no internal logic.
No, I don't think, I don't think that's how the story wants. I don't think that's how the series wants you to feel.
No.
Either.
I don't think it is either. Because if it was, this isn't the way to do it.
No, I think you're meant to feel like that Misato is right.
Yeah.
That
And that Shinji's a wet
Shinji's
blanket.
wrong. And at that moment when Shinji goes, "Oh, I know where I am. I'm home," or whatever, when he has his kind of arc and he smiles
Resolves
and
it.
presumably decides to stay.
Yeah.
Who
it's fair.
knows? Who knows? It strikes me as the abused party.
Yeah.
In a relationship coming back again because they can't escape that cycle of
Yeah.
torture.
There is no question that the takeaway story, at least up to this episode, is Nerve are abusing children with mental problems
yeah.
to bend to their will. And that's not from they're a dark, evil organisation. It's from a purely incompetent
Yeah.
level.
Yes, because you describe that and you say, well, it's a show about evil government
Yeah.
kind of forcing children to do
You go,
things.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
Dark.
No,
and-
no, it's not like that. They don't mean to do it.
But you're meant to side with...
You're meant to side with them.
Yeah.
They're the good guys.
And the child is being unreasonable.
Yeah.
Oh.
The whole way the story is structured, even though obviously it turns out the Nerve aren't the good guys, and that they were bad all along, and they have bad secret agendas and everything. The way the story is structured, the way that the story is presented to us, it is told in such a way that makes us tries to force us to sympathise with Misato and Nerve over something that is so obviously unjust and unfair.
Yeah. It's very confused.
Yeah,
as an
it
episode.
is very confused.
I'm trying to think of some positives. Toji and Kensuke.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying it right.
Yeah, Kensuke. They come across a bit more like human beings.
They do.
Like,
Yeah.
they probably come across the best, I want to say, out of everyone.
I think there's some good character work with them, certainly with like their dialogue and also their relationship with Shinji.
Yeah.
Them sort of coming round. Like I like the whole Toji punching him, blaming Shinji for the wounding of his sister. I like all that stuff, and then Toji feeling really guilty about it, because at first, when you first meet Toji, you think he's going to be the big high school jock and he's going to be a bully.
Yeah.
And he isn't. He's actually a really nice guy, and you know, he becomes quite important in the story later on as well. But he, I like Kensuke, Toji, and Shinji as a trio. I like that. And this episode does good work for that.
You get the impression that if it weren't for all the horrible things that Nerve puts Shinji through, that if left in that environment for enough time,
He might have been alright.
yeah, he might have kind of blossomed and kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, become a bit happier. I think more than the psychological abuse, which maybe I'm overplaying a little bit, but it does feel that way. I was perhaps most annoyed by the just general incompetence of Nerve and especially Misato.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was intentional. I don't think it was like a story point. I think,
no, it certainly isn't. How can it be?
I think this is actually just bad storytelling, because the characters come across as
Idiots.
Yeah, because it's like
Fumbling fools.
even like that opening scene where when Misato's like, "Oh, Shinji's run away," and then Kensuke and Toji knock on the door.
Yeah.
And like, hey, miss, sorry to bother you. We want to bring Shinji his homework because he's not been in school.
Yeah.
And she goes, you look familiar.
Aren't you two the ones who were in the cockpit with Shinji that time?
Weren't you the two random school children who got to go inside the greatest weapon that humanity's ever built? You know, hey, weren't you the two children we debriefed for 14 hours?
Or at least if we didn't, why the hell did we not?
Are you not the two children I saw on that camera and instructed Shinji to let into the cockpit? You know what I mean? It's like, how would you... You just wouldn't forget something like that.
There's nothing believable about how Nerve is run. Like Misato seems to get up at 3:00 in the afternoon, having spent the entire night previously just getting wasted.
Yeah.
Her and Ritsuko just hang out in high-tech labs at Nerve and just chat about people as though they're just housemates. You know, she has said before in an episode earlier that she gets up so late because her shift starts so late.
Yeah.
But isn't she like the main military strategist / leader of every military operation they do?
And I get the idea that maybe, like, she's most active when
There's an
the
angel.
angels are attacking.
But surely there's loads to do when there isn't an angel attacking, preparing for the next angel.
And it's not like a night shift.
No.
It's not like she can lie in because she's been working all night.
I think my biggest issue with all of this is the fundamental unbelievability of Nerve. You know, and I know that there's a lot about them that is unusual. You know, they're not like a classic government-run military organization. They are led by some weird dark figures who have a secret agenda. I get all of that, but none of that is an excuse for how incompetent they are. They're just categorically incompetent. You know, like we've talked about, when Shinji gets punched in the face in the playground, there would have been agents immediately.
Yeah.
And there never was.
Toji would have been tranked by a sniper rifle.
And we would never have seen him again.
Well, and after Toji and Kensuke went inside the Eva, we would never see those children again.
No. And
Best
that would
case
play,
scenario.
And that would play really well into the hands of Nerve being this weird, evil organisation.
Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be fun?
Wouldn't that be good storytelling, John?
Yeah, the jock punches Shinji in the face. Comes to school the next day, there's an empty desk.
Yeah.
What happened to Toji? We don't know. We don't talk about that anymore.
17 brainwashed children just say simultaneously as one, "We don't know. It was not Nerve." But like there were countless ways.
Toji's dragged into a black car. He goes, kill me before they take me. You didn't see anything.
All the kids just carry on playing.
I'm a milkman.
I am the road crew.
This boy.
There were countless ways to tell a story about an evil organization with secret agendas.
Yeah.
This is not that.
Make your decision. Is Nerve a benevolent, wonderful organization? Are they a sinister government organization? There are so many storytelling tropes you could fall back on. Why are you not using any of them?
Why instead are you doing the weirdest, most unpredictable and stupid things that I've ever seen in any story ever?
Like, I can't even say, I can't even joke and say, like, oh, this is what it would be like if a government agency was run by hippies, because I still think hippies would at least be consistent.
Yeah. They have a motivation. You know?
This is like a government agency, I don't know, run by people on a flexible work hours scheme or something, where they come in when they want.
Yeah.
They pick up a job from a job pool if they feel like it.
There's no central hierarchy or mission objective, really. I mean, those things just get in the way, don't they?
Yeah, it's like, it's weird.
It is weird.
It's really weird.
I think this is a low point. And I hope that it's the lowest point, because I mean, I know the last 2 episodes are famously weird and basically bad, but we thought we loved this show, and it's been a long time since we've seen it, and retrospect is a wonderful thing. But the further we get into it, the more I'm starting to realise that this podcast might develop into an analysis of something that has become a cultural touchstone, and yet is heavily flawed.
Yeah, and I feel like it's fine to love something despite its flaws.
Yeah. And maybe we still can.
And we keep kind of telling each other and kind of telling ourselves that it gets better. And I'm always thinking, like, it has to, because I wouldn't have loved this show so much if there wasn't something there.
I agree.
But I do wonder how much of that was ignoring certain things, and kind of...
or just simply not noticing them. Like most of this episode, I've got to say I don't remember from when I watched it when I first watched it, and obviously that was because this was not one of the episodes that I went back to and rewatched over and over again, because I remember as a kid, and I say a kid, I was probably like 15 or whatever, I watched the whole thing gradually, one DVD at a time as I was buying it, and then I would always go back and watch my favourite ones, and I can remember distinctly what my favourite ones are, and the reason that is because I've seen them so many times. This was not one of those. So obviously I got through this episode and then never really thought about it ever again.
Because it's not, you could say, I don't know, I feel I'm going around in circles now, but I think that really kind of bugs me, is that you could say that this is the character building episode.
You could say that.
And you could say, like, look, it's fine, have your big action, but you've got to counterbalance it with the quieter moments. Fine, I get that, you do, that's important. But this is not good character building.
No. And also, the way that you do that in a TV show is that you have an episode that has both. So you have an episode with some action in, arguably less, and that episode focuses on the characters. And then you have another episode which is maybe more action-packed, but it has a bit of character stuff in there. What the creators of this show don't seem to realise is that you need to do that within an episode, not across multiple episodes. This was 4 episodes worth of character development, and I say that in inverted commas because it doesn't really develop the characters at all. But it was 4 episodes worth, just jammed into 1 episode.
Yeah. And it struck me, and I think I said this while we were watching it, I feel like everything that happens in this episode gets echoed again later in the series.
There
I'm
is another time
ahead.
that Shinji runs away.
Yeah, and I feel that bit, when that's done, and we will get there, has much more weight. And I remember that as being pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I'm pretty sure the way I remember it is that an angel attacks while he's away. And he decides to turn back on his own because he wants to save people. And I think that's a significant and heroic moment for Shinji.
Because that's kind of like, that's the hero's journey, isn't it? It's like he rejects the call, but then he comes back. But in this episode, he accepts the call.
Yeah.
And then
wholehearedly.
And then the call...
Tell him to leave.
Yeah, and the call giver's like, well, fine, leave.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'll do it. I accept my responsibilities. Like,
no, that,
fine,
get out.
Fine. If you're not going to enjoy it...
You're not going to enjoy it.
Oh my god.
Oh goodness me.
It has to get better. It has to. I heard I didn't read too much into it because I didn't want to kind of I guess kind of influence my feelings on it. But someone had written an article the other day which I saw shared online, a very similar thing, like kind of reanalyzing Evangelion.
Oh, right.
And I didn't want to read it because I thought I want to keep my thoughts to myself.
Yeah.
But I saw the headline, and it was simply pointing out that how when Asuka turns up, she saves the show.
Oh, interesting.
And it and there's kind of theory that the show wasn't very good until she turned up and completed the dynamic.
Well, I think what's very exciting about what we're doing with this podcast is that we're really, really tearing it apart down to first principles, rather than just having watched the show when we were younger, watching it again and going, ha ha, ha, Evangelion, despite its faults, it's still a laugh, and then moving on. Instead, we're actually really looking at it, like really, really looking at it. And I really hope that maybe we do discover something like that. That despite the fact that some of these earlier episodes are really, really quite weak, we do come to find out the core, the heart of what it is we love about Evangelion. And that's what I'm really hoping the whole point of this is. It's not just a episode by episode, let's talk about Evangelion. I think actually now it's become a quest to find out what it is. What is Evangelion? Because it's not a story about a depressed boy being abused by an incompetent organization. It's not a story about giant robots battling weird alien creatures. It's none of those things. So because it doesn't really do either of those things very well. So let's find out what it is. Like, what is Evangelion? Because whatever it is, it's not what we think it is, but we still obviously love it. Obviously.
Is this Evangelion?
We couldn't have actually picked a better title, could we?
No, it's fate.
Is this?
And maybe it's because, and much in the same way that the title for our podcast is really hard to say. Maybe that's a metaphor.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe we're all
metaphors.
Oh yeah, I look forward to that moment when it clicks.
Yeah,
because I remember loving this show and loving certain episodes, and I, much like yourself, don't remember this episode a lot. So I feel clearly this was kind of just cut out of my brain.
So for all you listeners out there who are thinking we're really ragging on this show in this episode, we are, and it was bad. And if you watch it back, I'm sure you'll agree with us.
Yeah.
But this is one episode, and we can forgive this, if we see what it is. Equally, if we don't see, it improve and it get better, then we'll say it.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold back. But as you said, we love this show, and I'm confident that this is maybe a low point, but there's going to be high points.
Yeah.
And we're gonna.
Yeah. No, I we had to take the rough with the smooth.
We had to, and maybe we've analysed it more deeply than we ever would have done when we watched it before, and then we might have done if we weren't watching making a podcast either. But all that proves is that there are low points and there are hopefully high points.
This has been a real low point, and I feel it can really only improve. And I when it previewed what's coming up in the next few episodes, I feel we're in for a treat, because I feel we're definitely going to be coming up on Ramiel.
Yeah,
arguably one of my, if not my favourite angel.
Yeah, he's great.
Because we had. It opens with the third angel.
Yes.
Doesn't it? Whose name I can't remember, but it's the third angel. Satchel.
Yeah.
The fourth angel, who's the weird lobster dude who we talked about last episode, and I can't remember what that was called.
Yeah.
But then I think the fifth angel, Ramiel,
yeah,
giant floating diamond, that always struck me as a high point. Yeah. So I look forward to going through that again.
I also look forward to that.
Should we wrap this up, unless there's anything else you want to kind of...
No, let's wrap it up.
Should we do the scoring then?
Let's do the scoring. So, for reference, last episode, we gave it a Shinji rating of 6.
Yeah.
And an impact of 3.
You see, my dilemma here, because I feel much like, let's each put a number together and see where we kind of, how they compare. I almost feel like 10 doesn't go high enough. I feel like I want to 10 this episode.
In Shinjiness.
And yet I feel like that will be selling the rest of the series short. So I don't think I can.
Considering we've already given the last one 6, haven't we? And this was significantly more Shinji. The only point I have to make is that as much as it was very Shinji-y, it wasn't really a lot of it his fault.
No, that is true, actually.
The definition of Shinji in terms of this scale is him being a wet blanket at the detriment of himself and being the sole cause for the problems in his life.
Yeah, kind of like getting these lifelines but ignoring them.
Yeah.
But in this one, like...
He was actually arguably heroic in this one.
Yeah.
Despite hating piloting the Eva, he still said he would. So I'm actually considering keeping the Shinji level maybe the same.
I would say I would bump it to a 7.
Okay. Well, I think that's fair.
Me personally, just because
Let's take it up to 7.
he went from being...
He did run away. He ran away.
Yeah,
didn't he?
let's face it. He's pretty depressed in this episode, but it's a... I think you made a very good point, because he is depressed. He's very Shinji, but at the same time, I think anyone would be.
Yeah.
I think he's acting quite normally.
At this point, he is suffering. So, so shall we say a Shinji rating of 7?
If you're okay with that,
I'm okay with that.
7 grand.
So, Impact.
I've got a number.
1.
1.
Yeah. It's got to be 1.
It's the worst episode we've seen so far.
Yes.
And thinking ahead,
I don't think it's possible
thinking
to
of
go
all
lower.
thinking of all the episodes I remember, and I'm sure there's some I've forgotten about. Yeah, I agree. I don't see how it could get worse.
I don't see how it could get worse because of pure vacuums of storytelling and incomprehensible character motivations. But we do have 0 just in case.
Yeah, there's always that option.
Whew.
Hot damn. Well,
there we go.
Wow. So this has been Nick and Jon is this Evangelion, episode 4.
Yeah, Hedgehog's Dilemma.
It's been a rough one, but high hopes for the next episode.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the sign off again. Like,
No matter how bad your life might be,
you could always, we should. Okay, well, you can say. Thank you for listening, and remember, however bad your life be, your life. I'll try again. This is what this episode's done to me. It's killed my.
It's numbed your lips.
My frontal cortex. However bad your life may be, you could always be episode 4 of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
You could always be Shinji Ikari's close affiliates.
And are we all hedgehogs with dilemmas?
No, we're not.
No, we're tennis balls in the rain.
Tennis balls in the rain, definitely. Good night. This podcast, and others like it, is made possible thanks to our wonderful backers on Patreon. To support Big Punch Studios as we make comics like Afterlife Inc. and 7 String, games like Sandwich Masters, and podcasts like the one you've just been listening to, head on over to www.patreon.com/Big Punch Studios. For just $5 a month, not only will you help make everything we do a reality, but we'll also send you 4 copies of Big Punch magazine a year. That's over 180 full-colour pages of comic action, featuring Cuckoos, Orb, 99 Swords, and Catmarang, delivered straight to your door. This has been a Big Punch Studios production. For all things Big Punch, be sure to head on over to www.bigpunchstudios.com.